I made my teacher cry. Story time. When I was in second grade, I had this teacher and she was the devil, and we're gonna name her Miss Jackson. And the reason I call her a devil is because she would say really mean things to me to my face. She would be like, Ty, stop talking like that, you sound like a little girl. Or, your favorite color can't be pink, you have to choose one of the boy colors. And since I was so young, I didn't understand how serious these things were, and I didn't know I can get her in trouble. And I would go home sad like every single day. Eventually my mom noticed and she asked me what was wrong. So I told her some of the things that Miss Jackson would say to me, and my mom was mad. And my mom was like, the next time she says something to you, say something rude back, and if you get in trouble, I'll handle her from there. So I was like, okay, I'll do it. Now, Miss Jackson was a heavy lady, so I knew if I said something rude to her, it would be about her weight. Though we don't body shame around here. We don't do that, okay? So I'm in school eating lunch with my friends who happen to be girls, and Miss Jackson comes up to me and she's like, shouldn't you be eating with the boys? So I looked at her and I was like, shouldn't you be eating a salad? And the lunchroom started laughing, and then she started crying.
This is why you should never take a prank too far. Once there were two young twins who lived in a small town and they were known for constantly misbehaving. One day a man had passed away peacefully in his home and the twins wanted to play a prank on everyone else living in the town, so they snuck into the house and started messing with the man's body. One twin moved his mouth like a puppet and the other one poked his eyes out with a stick. As they were doing this, they heard footsteps. They couldn't find anywhere to hide, so they placed the body back in the coffin, then got in the coffin themselves and closed the lid. But what they didn't know was they were taking the coffin straight to the funeral. The people carrying the coffin noted that it was much heavier than usual but brushed it off. No one even noticed that the twins were gone until the coffin was lowered. The twins' mother appeared at the cemetery about the missing twins, which stopped the funeral and began a search. Eventually, the man carrying the coffin confessed that the coffin had weighed more than it was supposed to, so they lifted it out and opened the lid. They did find the boys there, but they found them lying on top of the body, whose hands were wrapped tightly around each of their necks. The twins had been strangled to death.
Storytime about the girl who found out that I was hooking up with her boyfriend for 3 months straight. So a little background information. I was in high school, and there was this boy that I really liked. And I had a crush on him since I was in like 7th grade. And the only time he would talk to me is whenever he wanted me to send him nudes. Well, in high school he got a girlfriend. But while he was dating her, he would still ask me for nudes. And of course I would still send them. Well, the summer before my junior year, I got a job at this restaurant. Well, almost every single day, the guy that I liked would bring his girlfriend in. Because guess what? His dad owned the restaurant. We're gonna call this boy Alex. Well, the one night I was supposed to close with this girl, but she ended up having to leave because of a family thing. So Alex came in to help me close. And while we were there, we were talking. And this was like the longest that we ever talked. Well, he said, do you want to come over to my house after we're done? So a bitch said yes. And we did the nasty and he took me home in the morning. Well, then he started coming in often to help me close. Well, 3 months later, as I'm closing, his girlfriend and her friends walk in like for part 2. Part 2 about the girl who was obsessed with me. So like I said, she basically told me that those were her nudes. Even though I took the pictures and I knew they were mine. But I was like, okay, whatever, I'm not gonna argue with her. Well, then I get a text from my boyfriend. And he goes, what the fuck, you're so weird. Why would you send me somebody else's nudes? And I'm just sitting there like, what the fuck? And I tried to explain to him that I had no fucking clue why this girl was saying they were hers. But then he said that I was weird as fuck and he broke up with me. So like a week later, I see them walking around school together. And my friends tell me that they're now dating. And I really wasn't that mad about it. I was like, okay, maybe that's the only way that she could think of to get a boyfriend. Well, I forgot that my Instagram was logged in on his phone because he had super bad trust issues and wanted to make sure. Part 2 about the girl who found out that I was hooking up with her boyfriend for 3 months straight. So like I said, the one night nobody could come in to help me close. And while I'm wiping off the counter, the girl and 3 of her friends walk in. I thought that she might have just forgot something because she was here earlier with her boyfriend. AKA the guy that I was hooking up with. So I was super nice. I was like, hey, like, what do you need? And literally, as soon as I finish my sentence, one of her friends comes up behind me and grabs me by my ponytail. And then his girlfriend, we're gonna call her Allie, she comes up and punches me straight in the middle of the mouth. Like literally right in the middle of the mouth. I had to go to the dentist the next day because 2 of my teeth were missing. So then she goes and sits down at a table while she takes a video of 3 of her best friends beating the shit out of me. So then I'm sitting there, I could barely move. And then she plugs in one of those things that like guys shave their head with. And as soon as she figured out how to work the damn thing, it literally took her 10 minutes. My mom walks in because she had been waiting outside for 25 minutes at this point. So my mom called the cops and I pretty much won. My head wasn't shaved. I got a new set of teeth the next day and her boyfriend still hits me.
Story of the time the owners of my school left a fake review on my Google account. So then I noticed that I signed into my Google account on Friday and that's when the review was posted. It was posted at 4:45, which we got out of school at 4:30. So at this point I was 100% positive that one of the owners of my school had written this fake review under my name. which is illegal. So I go into the office, and mind you, the owners of the school were husband and wife. And on Monday mornings, only the wife was there. So I go to her office and I'm like, hey, I'm here to talk to you about this review that was written underneath my name, but I never wrote it. And she pretended like I didn't just say that I didn't write it. And she was like, thank you so much. That was so kind of you. We're so happy to hear the good feedback. And I was like, yeah, but I didn't write it. And for a while, it was just us going back and forth, her playing stupid and me being like, I didn't write it. So then she calls her husband, puts him on speakerphone, and he proceeds to thank me for the review that I didn't write. And we go back and forth, and he plays stupid too, until I finally snapped and I was like, I didn't write the review and one of you did. And he was like, listen, if you don't feel this way about our school, then you could delete your review.
So for anybody who goes and gets their nails done, okay, you know how you can just tell like how your nail tech is talking to the nail tech next door? Like, you ain't gotta speak their language, you just know that they're talking mad shit about somebody. Like, I wish I spoke Vietnamese. Like, I want to be in on it. I want to know who we're talking about. Like, come on, I want to know.
Part 2 on how my boyfriend became my stepdad. So continuing on with the story, I told him that he was disgusting, and then I just ended our relationship. And like at first he wouldn't let me break up with him, but then finally we were just both like, okay, this is not gonna work out. So about 2 days later, I come home and I see him at my house, and I'm like, dude, we're not getting back together, so don't try, like, you're weird. And he has the audacity to go, I'm not here for you, I'm here for your mother. And at that point I was like, I'm moving out. And that night I heard some noises that I didn't want to hear. And then my mom ended up getting pregnant again. She's only like 34, I think, but he's 19. So the age gap isn't really that big of a difference. But it's the point that my boyfriend decided to F my mom, get her pregnant, and now I don't even know how I'm related to this child. Yeah, so now my mom's pregnant with my ex-boyfriend's child. I mean, I'm so nice to the kid because it's my step-sibling's dad. But at the same time, I secretly want to, like, you know, inject him out of the game. In the game, I want to inject him out of his life, so, yeah.
Story time to when I found out my boyfriend just got out of prison and what he was locked up for. And he's my ex, by the way, now. So I was working at a fast food place, and I guess he was hired. I went to the back of the break room and we started talking, having a normal conversation. He was flirting. I didn't realize he was flirting, but he was flirting. And then eventually we became friends, and from friends we just started talking every day. And on top of that, we worked together. And honestly, I regret everything. Like, I regret it, but at the end of the day, it happened. So one day we hung out. He told me if I wanted to follow him somewhere, and I was confused because I wasn't sure where he was taking me. But when we showed up to the place in the middle of like West Bubblefuck, I was confused, and he's like, stay here. He told me to stay outside. And he's like, you can look me up. He gave me his full name, his full government name and everything. Like, for part 2. Story time to when I found out that my boyfriend at the time just got out of prison and when he was locked up for part 2. So like I said, we were in the middle of West Bubblefuck. We were at this place I wasn't allowed in. He told me it was his parole place, and then he told me to look him up. He gave me his name and then told me like, hey, you know, just so you know, it's up to you if you want to stay. Once I come back outside and you're gone, then I know what happened, and if you stay, then you stay, and just read the article. And you know, so like I said, he was inside. I started reading the article. I started crying because I was confused. And then when I saw what happened, guys, he was locked up for murder, 5 or 6 years, I think. I'm not sure. I don't remember. But you know, that was the past. We don't talk anymore. It's been like 6, 7 years, 5 years. I don't even remember exactly how long. But I wish him nothing but the best.
Story time of how I caught my grandma and my dad sleeping together. Yes, you heard me right, my dad was sleeping with my grandma. Sadly, I had to be the one to find this out and walk in on them doing the dirty, and it was probably the most traumatizing experience I've ever had. So basically, my dad told my mom that he had to start working late to get extra money, because at the time we weren't doing so good money-wise. So basically, a couple months go by, and my mom said he started acting really, really weird, and then asked me to keep an eye on him and see if he's like doing anything strange. So you know me, the best daughter in the world, kept an eye on him, and I didn't find much out. Until one day, after I came home from school, I got locked out of my house because I didn't have my key, and both my parents were so cold at work. So I told my mom, and she works an hour away, so she couldn't come get me. And so I just had a friend drop me off at my grandma's house. So I tried calling my grandma, but she didn't answer, so I decided I was just gonna go anyways. I go through the back door like I always do, and I wanted to sneak up on her and give her a hug.
So I try to be as quiet as I can, and I walk in the room and see my grandma and my dad butt naked on the bed. I'm running out of time. Late for part 2.
Story time. So in elementary school, I had a group of friends. It was 5 of us, including myself. So one of the girls had the same name as me, and for some reason, I knew she didn't like me, and I'm assuming it's because of the fact that we had the same exact name. So one day, the girl that had the same name as me came to us and told us that she was moving to West Bubblefuck. The day before she left, she came to school and gave us gifts. She gave everyone a bracelet and a letter, and I got a statue of an angel. Don't know why, don't ask me why, I don't know. I just knew she didn't like me, and she gave me my gift last too. So then after that, I've never seen her again until a few years. Apparently she ends up coming back to New York, where I'm from, ends up going to the same middle school. I noticed, I think that's where her true colors came out, and she pretty much was showing that she didn't like me, like for part 2.
Part 2 of I found out that my dad was sleeping with my grandma.
Hope you guys liked this video and found it helpful. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel. It does help support us, and let's know what videos you guys want to see.